The world is changing, and it's changing rapidly. Make no mistake, folks, never before in human history have we seen anything like this, and the Bible told us these things would happen. It's time to open up our eyes because we're running out of time. I'm going to play a portion of a video of Netanyahu talking at the United Nations. I think it's relevant. I think it's significant. I think it's really, really important. We have spent a lot of time covering this story on a bunch of levels. But the one thing that we have not spent a lot of time talking about is the overall effect that it's going to have on everything because of what actually has happened. Pay attention to what he has to say. Here we go.
Peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia will truly create a new Middle East.
I'm going to rewind it for just a second. Take a look at Saudi Arabia here. I'm going to go and see if we can find them in this. Let's rewind it and watch this for a second.
By empires passing through it in their campaigns of plunder and conquest elsewhere. But today, as we tear down the walls of enmity, Israel can become a bridge of peace and prosperity between these continents. Peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia will truly create a new Middle East. To understand the magnitude of the transformation that we seek to advance, let me show you a map of the Middle East in 1948, the year Israel was established. Here's Israel in 1948. It's a tiny country, isolated.
You have to watch this, folks. This is so incredibly cool. Look at what he says, and then look at the reaction of it all. This is so unbelievable. Okay? All right, watch this.
By a hostile Arab world. In our first 70 years, we made peace with Egypt and Jordan. And then in 2020, we made the Abraham Accords, peace with another 4 Arab states. Now look at what happens when we make peace between Saudi Arabia and Israel. The whole Middle East changes. We tear down the walls of enmity.
Look at this, folks. Okay, if you look at what he's pointing out here, they already made a peace treaty with Jordan, right? That peace treaty was made in 1994 that was finalized. The one that they made with Egypt was 1979, I believe, 78 or 79. Sudan, Saudi Arabia, which they have a very unofficial peace with Saudi Arabia because of what's going on. They have Dubai, the UAE, Bahrain, right? All of these nations are cooperating. It's pretty amazing when you think about it, actually. Not to mention the fact that Russia is very friendly with Israel. So they're on a trajectory of everything that we know Ezekiel 38 tells us to expect before Russia invades Israel. It's absolutely amazing. By the way, if you're a world leader and you want to invest in your country, the best way to invest in your country is to be good to Israel. If you're bad to Israel, you lose. Every single time you lose. If you're bad to Israel, you fail. There is no hope. You've pretty much ran yourself into the ground. God says it. Genesis 12:3, I will bless those that bless you. I will curse those that curse you. Look at the picture that he's drawing here with respect to the Middle East. Look at the dramatic change. And he's going to grab a marker and he's going to demonstrate something substantial to you guys. And it changed the direction of the Middle East in many ways. Watch this.
We bring the possibility of prosperity and peace to this entire region, but we do something else. You know, a few years ago, I stood here with a red marker to show the curse, a great curse, the curse of a nuclear Iran. But today I bring this marker to show a great blessing, the blessing of a new Middle East between Israel, Saudi Arabia, and our other neighbors. We will not only bring down barriers between Israel and our neighbors, we'll build a new corridor of peace and prosperity that connects Asia through the UAE Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, to Europe. This is an extraordinary change, a monumental change, another pivot of history.
When he says it's an extraordinary change, a monumental pivot in history, you need to understand something, folks. He is not exaggerating. It is very difficult for me to describe in tangible terms how significant of an issue this is. Then when you get into the issue of Azerbaijan, you get into the issue of Armenia, what's going on right now in Armenia with the Armenians that are leaving this area of Azerbaijan. Let me tell you why it's significant. A lot of people don't think about this, but I'll spend a second on it because it helps us to better understand what's happening in Israel. 120,000 Armenians is the conservative number right now that they're estimating. 120,000 in this area have fled the region. People are not thinking about this because of this ethnic cleansing, which, by the way, this also has something to do with what's happening with Israel, because Azerbaijan just recently set up diplomatic relations, by the way, the first Shiite nation to do so, with Israel, setting up an embassy where you would never expect them to do so. Well, this is going to become significant. So people don't realize this. They're all fleeing this area because what has happened and what they fear is going to happen. Why does this matter? Okay, let me explain why this matters. If this actually is given way, which it should, this could set up another flow of refugees into Western Europe, already in the midst of North African refugees that are overwhelming European governments. Now, why is that a big deal? If Azerbaijan continues with their military ethnic cleansing operation in the region, I promise you the Armenians will fight back. If that happens, you're going to see a level of instability in North Africa that we have not seen, the likes of which we have not seen for probably 40 or 50 years. It takes eyes that will leave Libya. Russia will be allowed to do whatever Russia wants to do. Much of the progress that's being made in the Middle East with Israel will also be slightly overlooked. And then there will be a massive amount of misinformation that's going to be communicated about the Armenian population. And they are going to be the new group of people to hate. Why am I bringing up Armenia? I'm bringing up Armenia because of the contribution to the instability that we're going to see in the North African region as a result of all of this. People talk about Christians being persecuted in China. They talk about Christians being persecuted, all throughout the Middle East. Spend some time to look into what's happening with Azerbaijan and what's happening with the Armenians and the kind of persecution that those people are experiencing. If you love your brothers and sisters in the Lord, you'll start thinking about them and you'll understand the pain and the suffering that all of them are going through right now. It's amazing. But there's other things that are going on that we should pay attention to, right? How about the fact that one of our geniuses that are in office right now are actually going to seek to start a new campaign to help out Ukraine in the midst of all the things that are happening. Now, look, I bring out Ukraine, I bring out Russia, I talk about Armenia, I talk about Azerbaijan, because all of it is a powder keg that's waiting to happen. All of these things are contributing to a variable right now that people just don't see or recognize. Okay, let me help you connect the dots here, okay? The world around us is destabilizing. Resources that are most important to the survival of any society are becoming more and more scarce. Not because we lack them with respect to the ability to find them in nature. The United States of America is sitting on one of the largest oil reserves in the world, second only to Israel. It has nothing to do with the fact that we don't have them available to us. It has everything to do with the political infrastructure that keeps us from taking full advantage of what we have. And as a result, it is contributing to the radical amount of instability that's going on. Back in the day, by the way, when everybody said, well, we're not going to do any offshore drilling, or we're not going to do any drilling internally on any of our nature reserves or anything like that, at least there was a certain level of predictability that happened with OPEC. OPEC behaved a certain way. They followed the cues that were provided to them by the United States of America, oftentimes entering into private and quiet discussions, particularly with Saudi Arabia, And what they would, in essence, do is they would come to an amicable arrangement for how oil is sold, both internationally and very privately and quietly with the United States of America, particularly for maintaining and establishing reserves necessary to make people have this false sense of security with respect to what they're doing with energy independence. Now, that's all gone by the wayside. And we find ourselves, if you remember, the President of the United States begging OPEC to have mercy on us, which is absolutely insane. So let's talk about what's happening. The world is destabilizing. Europe is in big trouble. They're in massive trouble. The UN is looking at reorganizing. That's a very quiet thing. NATO is about to die, a terrible death. They're darn near hanging themselves. That alliance is not going to last. There's already people in the alliance that are already walking away from Article 5. So let's not even get into that. You have a desperation that's growing in Eastern and Western Europe for energy resources that they cannot provide for themselves, and that they're fully dependent upon Russia. Russia, by the way, makes the most sense. They're not going to go to the Middle East for it because the Middle East is darn near controlled by Russia, and the Middle East is not going to act cooperatively with any attempt to obtain any kind of energy asset because of the market problem that Russia would create as a result of such a thing happening. So they're all going to Russia. Well, the problem is Russia is destabilizing the region, and Russia eventually will find themselves in a significant position of destabilization, because what I think is going to end up happening is with the oil agreement that they've made with China, China is going to have an appetite that's a lot bigger than anything that Russia ever anticipated. And the same anticipatory mechanism that drove Russia will be the same mechanism that will actually cause China to fall apart. And in that, they will take Russia with them. But here's what happens. You got all this instability going on. There's going to be a desperation. And then the Bible says that there will be an economic peace that will exist in the Middle East, like we're seeing formulated right now. We're actually watching that happen. But as that begins to take place, oil assets will be protected. As it begins to take place, people will feel safer in the region. As that begins to take place, there will be walls that will come down. No more barriers. He actually says that in this UN discussion. And while all of that is beginning to solidify in the region, guess whose appetite is going to grow for energy resources? Russia. The Ottoman Empire. That's trying to be resurrected right now by Erdogan. Turkey. It won't be long before Russia has complete control over Libya. They know exactly what they were doing. They're not messing around. We know that Ukraine is not going to win. We already know that so many people in Ukraine fault their current leader, as they should, for the murder of their own citizens. And to take things even further, there will come a point in time where an alliance will be made to seek to take the resources of Israel. And when that alliance happens, per Ezekiel 38, Saudi Arabia will speak up and go, what the heck are you thinking? What are you doing, Russia? And then God will defend Israel, per Ezekiel 39. We know that all of those things are going to happen. Now, why did I say the world changed? The world changed, I believe, because we crossed over last week where that perfect pendulum has now swung, where the desperation caused by the economic instability of the whole world has snapped to a level where now we're in a tailspin, while at the same time, economic security and strengthening is taking place with anybody in the region that will be friends with Israel. The world just shifted. By the way, I want to make this statement for the record because I think it's really important. We're going to see more shifting take place again. And I will have many more of these moments where I sit down and say the world has changed again because of what we're actually seeing happening. Folks, things have changed so radically and dramatically. Here's the lesson, right? Here's where we come to. Here's the conclusion that we come to. Christ could come at any moment. I'm going to play the last part of this UN address that Prime Minister Netanyahu gives. Let's play this with the Prime Minister. Again, get ready, folks. just pay attention to what he says here.
The world's leading nations, however competitive, must address these dangers. We must do so quickly, and we must do so together. We must ensure that the promise of an AI utopia does not turn into an AI dystopia.
He's talking about an AI utopia, folks. Listen to this. By the way, we will go there. We will go somewhere with this because we're going to get into Revelation chapter 13 in just a second, just for a brief moment as we wrap this up. But pay attention to what he says here. It's very important.
We have so much to gain. Imagine the blessings of finally cracking the genetic code, extending human life by decades, and dramatically reducing the ravages of old age. Imagine healthcare tailored to each individual's genetic composition and predictive medicine that prevents diseases long before they occur. Imagine robots helping to care for the elderly. Imagine the end of traffic jams with self-driving vehicles on the ground, below the ground, and in the air. Imagine personalized education that cultivates each person's full potential throughout their lifetime. Imagine a world with boundless clean energy and natural resources for all nations. Imagine precision agriculture and automated factories that yield food and goods in an abundance that ends hunger and want. I know this sounds like a John Lennon song, but it could all happen. Imagine that we could achieve the end of scarcity, something that eluded humanity for all history. It's all within our reach. And here's something else within our reach. With AI, we can explore the heavens as never before and extend humanity beyond our blue planet.
By the way, he says we can explore the heavens like never before. That's what they were saying, folks, when they wanted to build the Tower of Babel. Think about that for a minute. Let's continue on what he says. I'm not kidding. This is crazy, you guys. This is crazy. And I'm going to tell you why it's significant in a minute. This is very important.
For good or bad, the developments of AI will be spearheaded by a handful of nations, and my country, Israel, is already among them. Just as Israel's technological revolution provided the world with breathtaking innovations, I'm confident that AI developed by Israel will once again help all humanity. I call upon world leaders to come together to shape the great changes before us, but to do so in a responsible and ethical way. Our goal must be to ensure that AI brings more freedom and not less, prevents wars instead of starting them, and ensures that people live longer, healthier, more productive, and peaceful lives. It's within our reach. And as we harness the powers of AI, let us always remember the irreplaceable value of human intuition and wisdom. Let us cherish and preserve the human capacity for empathy, which no machine can replace. Thousands of years ago, Moses presented the children of Israel.
Listen to this, folks. This is so indicative of the days that we are living in and what we know is coming. Listen to this. This is very important. Listen to this nuance.
With a timeless and universal choice. Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. May we choose wisely between the curse and the blessing that stand before us this day. Let us harness our resolve and our courage to stop the curse of a nuclear Iran and roll back its fanaticism and aggression. Let us bring forth the blessings of a new Middle East that will transform lands once ridden with conflict and chaos into fields of prosperity and peace. And may we avoid the perils of AI by combining the forces of human and machine intelligence to usher in a brilliant future for our world in our time and for all time. Thank you.
Wow. I'll close with this. Revelation chapter 13 says that there will be a totalitarian ruler that will come into play, that will do it in the name of doing well, in the name of helping the nation. And what he will do eventually is he will win over their hearts only to turn on them. I don't think that this totalitarian ruler is AI, but I do believe he will utilize AI to completely invigorate those that are around him to do his dirty work. Folks, we're in the last days. The time is coming. We are there.